Dr. Lisa Grant rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the screen again. The numbers made no sense. She had been staring at the data from the Deep Space Telescope for 3 hours and something was very wrong. "Paul, come look at this," she called to her colleague. Dr. Paul Chen walked over holding his coffee cup. He was a short man with glasses who worked on new types of space engines. "What is it?" "The Voyager 3 probe. It just stopped sending signals right at the edge of the solar system." Paul frowned. "Equipment failure?" "That's what I thought. But look." Lisa pulled up more data. Voyager 4, Pioneer 12, and the New Horizons 2, all of them. They all stopped at exactly the same distance from the sun. The door burst open. Colonel Jack Murphy entered the room. He was a tall man in a blue Space Force uniform. "Dr. Grant, we have a problem. Every single deep space probe has gone dark." All at the same time, Lisa felt cold. "How many?" 47 probes gone." Jack's face was grim. "Admiral Foster wants you at headquarters now." The ride to Earth Defense Command took 20 minutes. Lisa watched the city lights below as their flying car moved through the night sky. Earth had changed so much in the last 100 years. Humans lived on the Moon and Mars now. They had bases on the moons of Jupiter, but they still could not travel faster than light. Admiral Kate Foster was waiting in the command center. She was a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Around her, dozens of people worked at computer stations. "Dr. Grant, thank you for coming." The Admiral pointed to a large screen. "Tell me what you see." Lisa studied the display. It showed the solar system and the locations where all the probes had stopped. They formed a perfect sphere around the sun. "It's like there's an invisible wall," Lisa said slowly. "That's exactly what it is," Paul said, entering the room behind them. "I've been analyzing the last transmissions. Each probe hit something we can't see." Jack leaned forward. "An alien force field?" "We don't know," Admiral Foster said. "But we're going to find out. I'm putting together a team. We're sending a crewed mission to investigate." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. First contact with aliens. It was what every scientist dreamed of. But why would aliens put a barrier around Earth's solar system? The next 3 days passed in a blur. Lisa worked with her team to analyze every piece of data they had. The barrier was real. It surrounded the entire solar system in a perfect sphere, about 100 AU from the sun. Nothing could pass through it. On the 4th day, everything changed. Lisa was in the lab when every screen in the building turned on at once. A message appeared in perfect English. "People of Earth, the quarantine is for your protection. Do not attempt to leave. You have been warned." The message repeated 3 times, then the screens went back to normal. The command center exploded into activity. People shouted and ran between stations. Admiral Foster stood in the middle of it all, giving orders. "I want to know how they hacked our systems," she said. "And I want to know who they are," but there were no answers. The message had appeared on every screen on Earth at the same moment. Even screens that were not connected to any network. It was impossible, but it had happened. The world's leaders met in emergency session. For the first time in history, every nation worked together. They all agreed. Humanity needed answers. A week later, Lisa stood in the observation deck of the UES Discovery. The ship was humanity's most advanced vessel, built to explore the outer planets. Now it had a new mission. Captain Sam Rodriguez stood beside her. He was a man with dark hair and steady hands. "Nervous, Doctor?" "Excited," Lisa said. "We're about to meet aliens. Or die trying," Jack Murphy said from behind them. He would lead the military team on the mission. The Discovery launched from Earth orbit with great ceremony. Billions of people watched as the ship began its journey to the edge of the solar system. It would take 3 months to reach the barrier. During the flight, Lisa and her team prepared. They studied the message, looking for clues. They built new sensors to study the barrier. They practiced first contact protocols. Paul Chen worked on the ship's engines. "If we need to run, I want us ready," he explained. As they traveled farther from Earth, Lisa noticed something strange. The empty space between planets seemed darker somehow. The stars looked dimmer. It was subtle, but it was there. "The barrier isn't just blocking things from leaving," she told Admiral Foster during a video call. "It's blocking things from coming in too. Light from distant stars is being filtered." The Admiral's face was serious on the screen. "How long has this been happening?" "I don't know. But if the barrier is reducing incoming light..." Lisa paused. "We need to check our historical records. Astronomical observations from centuries ago. The research team on Earth worked quickly. The results were terrifying. The barrier has been there for at least 10,000 years, Paul announced during a crew meeting. Maybe longer. Ancient astronomers saw more stars than we do. We thought it was pollution or measurement error. We were wrong. Captain Rodriguez gripped the table. You're saying we've been in prison for 10,000 years and didn't know it? Yes, Lisa said simply. The crew was quiet. The Discovery continued its journey through the dark between worlds. When they were a week from the barrier, they found the probes. They floated in space, perfectly preserved but completely dead. No power, no signals, nothing. Whatever that barrier is, it doesn't destroy things, Jack reported. It just turns them off. Lisa studied the sensor readings. The barrier was still invisible, but they could detect its effects. Space itself seemed different near it. Gravity was slightly wrong. Time moved differently. It's not just a wall, she explained to the crew. It's a fundamental alteration of space-time. Whoever built this has technology we can't even imagine. 3 days from the barrier, they received another message. Turn back. This is your final warning. The message came from everywhere and nowhere. It was not a transmission they could trace. It simply appeared in their minds and on their screens. Captain Rodriguez gathered his senior staff. Do we continue? We have to, Lisa said. We need to know why we're trapped. Jack nodded. My team is ready for anything. Paul looked worried but determined. The engines are at full power. If we need to run, we can. Then we continue, the captain decided. The next day they saw them. 3 ships appeared from nowhere. They were huge, each one the size of a small moon. They were made of a material that seemed to shift between solid and liquid. They moved without any visible engines. The Watchers, Lisa whispered. It seemed like the right name. The alien ships did not attack. They simply watched as the Discovery approached the barrier. Lisa was in the lab when it happened. The Discovery reached the barrier and everything changed. The ship shuddered. Lights flickered. For a moment, Lisa felt like she was falling in all directions at once. Then it was over. They were still in space, but something was different. The stars looked wrong. Space felt heavy. We're through, Captain Rodriguez announced. We're outside the barrier. But they were not alone. 100 alien ships surrounded them, and on every screen a new message appeared. You were warned. Now you will learn why. Lisa looked at the alien fleet and wondered if humanity had just made its last mistake. The alien ships hung in space like metal mountains. Lisa counted them through the observation window. 112 vessels, each one different. Some were spheres of living metal. Others looked like massive crystals that pulsed with inner light. A few seemed to be made of pure energy held in ship-shaped fields. All stop, Captain Rodriguez ordered. His voice was calm, but Lisa could see sweat on his forehead. The bridge was silent except for the hum of computers. Everyone waited. The alien fleet did not move. They simply watched. Dr. Grant, what are your sensors showing? The captain asked. Lisa checked her screens. Energy readings are off the charts. Each ship is generating power equivalent to a small star. But they're not charging weapons. At least I don't think they are. Jack Murphy stood near the weapons console. His hand rested on his sidearm, though they all knew how useless human weapons would be. Why aren't they attacking? Maybe they want to talk, Paul suggested. He was pale but trying to stay calm. A new voice filled the bridge. It was not human, but it spoke perfect English. The sound came from everywhere at once. Humans of Earth, you were told not to leave your quarantine zone. You did not listen. This is unfortunate, Lisa felt the voice in her bones. It was old. Older than anything she had ever imagined. Captain Rodriguez stood. This is Captain Sam Rodriguez of the United Earthship Discovery. We mean no harm. We seek only understanding. Why have you imprisoned our solar system? There was a pause. Then the voice continued. Imprisoned? No. Protected. You are the disease and the quarantine keeps you from spreading. The words hit the crew like a physical blow. Disease? Lisa's mind raced. What did that mean? We don't understand, the captain said. Humanity has never encountered your species before. How can we be a disease to you? You have encountered us. Many times. Each time we have pushed you back. Each time you forget. This is the 2007th time your species has tried to leave your world. Each time you grow stronger. Each time it becomes harder to contain you. Lisa grabbed her tablet and began recording everything. This was the most important conversation in human history. 2,000 times. Paul whispered. That's impossible. Our recorded history only goes back a few thousand years. The alien voice seemed to sigh. Yes, each time we reset you, you lose your memories. You begin again. Stone tools to spacecraft in mere moments of cosmic time. No other species advances so quickly. No other species is so dangerous. Jack stepped forward. Dangerous how? We've never attacked anyone. Not yet. But you will. It is in your nature, observe. The main screen came to life. It showed Earth, but not the Earth they knew. This Earth was covered in massive cities that reached into space. Ships darkened the skies. The oceans were gone, replaced by machines. Earth iteration 1312, the voice explained. You consumed your world and reached for the stars. When you met the Zelani people, you consumed them too. 3 billion souls gone in a decade. The image changed. Another Earth, this one surrounded by a fleet of warships. Iteration 1502. You built weapons that could crack planets. When the Galactic Council tried to stop you, you destroyed 12 civilizations before we intervened. More images. Earth after Earth. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes terrible. Always expanding. Always consuming. We are the Watchers, the voice said. We have guarded the galaxy for 1,000,000 years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have protected young species and guided old ones. But humans, you are unlike anything we have encountered. Lisa found her voice. But we're not like those other versions. We're peaceful. We have laws, ethics, morals for now. But what happens when you discover the technologies those other iterations found? What happens when you realize that the laws of physics can be broken, that matter and energy can be created from nothing, that death itself can be conquered? Your species always chooses power over peace. Captain Rodriguez sat back in his chair. So you trap us forever, not forever. Eventually your star will die. The quarantine will end. It is the only way. The bridge was silent. Lisa felt sick. The entire human species condemned to slowly die in a cosmic prison. It was too much to accept. Then Jack laughed. It was a bitter sound. You're afraid of us. The alien voice did not respond immediately. When it did, it sounded different. Less certain. Fear is not the correct word. We are cautious. No, Jack continued. You're terrified. 1,000,000 years of controlling the galaxy and you can't control us. So you lock us up and hope we'll die quietly. Colonel Murphy, Captain Rodriguez warned. But Jack was not finished. 2,000 times we've tried to escape. 2,000 times you've knocked us down, and we keep getting back up. We keep building. We keep reaching for the stars, and you know that one day we'll succeed. Perhaps, the alien voice admitted. Which is why we are having this conversation. You have achieved something new in this iteration. You passed through the barrier. No human ship has done this before. Paul looked at his engineering console, the quantum drive. We figured out how to fold space in a way they didn't expect. Correct, the voice said. Your scientist, Dr. Chen, has discovered principles that took most species millions of years to understand. You did it in decades. This is why you are dangerous. This is why you must be contained. Lisa stood up. An idea was forming in her mind. You said you've reset us before. How? Selective asteroid impacts, engineered plagues. Sometimes we simply turn off your technology and let you fall back to primitives. It is painless. You never remember. But we do remember, Lisa said. Stories, myths, Atlantis, the Great Flood. Ancient civilizations that vanished overnight. Those are memories of the resets, aren't they? There was another pause. Genetic memory is stronger in your species than we anticipated. Yes, some of your myths are echoes of past iterations. Captain Rodriguez made a decision. We need to report this to Earth. They need to know. That will not be possible, the alien voice said. You will return to the quarantine zone. We will seal the barrier more carefully. This conversation will be forgotten. No, the captain said simply. The alien ships began to move. They formed a sphere around the Discovery. Energy fields sparkled between them, creating a cage of light. You will comply, the voice said, or you will be removed. Lisa's screens went crazy. The energy readings were beyond anything she had seen. The Watchers were preparing to act. Then Paul shouted from his station. Captain! I'm detecting something else. Inside the barrier, multiple contacts moving at high speed. On the screen, a new image appeared. 20 Earth ships burst through the barrier, their quantum drives flashing. The lead ship was massive, bristling with weapons humanity had only dreamed of. This is Admiral Kate Foster of the Earth Defense Fleet. came a familiar voice. "Stand down, alien vessels. You will release our ship immediately." Lisa stared. When had Earth built a fleet like this? The ships were beyond anything she knew existed. The Watcher's voice returned, but now it held surprise. "Impossible. Your species does not possess this technology." Admiral Foster's image appeared on the screen. She smiled coldly. "You're right. We didn't, until last week. You see, when you sent your first warning, you made a mistake. You connected to every computer on Earth. And our AI systems learned from that connection. They learned your technology, your weaknesses. The Earth fleet spread out, surrounding both the Discovery and the alien cage. Their weapons powered up with a sound like thunder. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for 10,000 years. The Admiral continued. "Every time you knocked us down, we left ourselves clues. Hidden messages in our DNA, secret vaults on the moon, instructions buried in our myths and legends. We knew this day would come." The Watcher ships pulled back. For the first time, they seemed uncertain. "And now," Admiral Foster said, "we're going to have a different conversation, one where you explain exactly who gave you the right to imprison entire species. And then you're going to tell us about the others. The other races you've trapped in quarantine zones across the galaxy." Lisa watched the standoff with growing hope. Humanity was not alone, and they were no longer helpless. The voice of the Watchers returned. It no longer sounded confident. "You do not understand the forces you are dealing with. There are things in the dark between galaxies that—" "Then teach us," Captain Rodriguez interrupted. "Make us your allies, not your prisoners. Because I promise you this, you will never cage us again." The space between the two fleets crackled with tension. The future of humanity hung in the balance. And somewhere in the back of Lisa's mind a single thought echoed. What have we awakened? The standoff in space lasted 3 hours. Neither fleet fired a shot, but the tension was unbearable. Lisa watched from the Discovery's bridge as Admiral Foster negotiated with the Watchers. The alien voice had grown quieter, less certain. "We need proof," Admiral Foster was saying. "Show us these threats you claim exist. Show us why the quarantine is necessary." "You are not ready," the Watcher replied. "Your species is too young, too violent." "Then make us ready," the Admiral shot back. "You've had 10,000 years to find a better solution than prison. Maybe it's time to try something new." Captain Rodriguez turned to his crew. "Dr. Grant, I want you to prepare a full report for Earth. Everything we've learned goes in it." Lisa nodded and began typing. But Paul interrupted her. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange. Energy signatures from Mars, big ones." On the screen, Mars appeared. The red planet looked normal at first, then Lisa saw it. A massive pulse of energy erupted from Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the solar system. "What is that?" Jack demanded. The Watcher's voice returned, now filled with alarm. "No, the ancient site. You found it." Admiral Foster's face appeared on a split screen. "Dr. Marcus Stone's archaeological team has been excavating on Mars for 6 months. They found something buried under Olympus Mons, something very old. The energy pulse from Mars grew stronger. It washed over both fleets like a wave. Lisa's instruments went wild. The pulse passed through the quarantine barrier as if it wasn't there. "You fools," the Watcher hissed. "You have no idea what you've awakened. That site was buried for a reason. The weapon it contains—" "It's not a weapon," Admiral Foster interrupted. "It's a key." The view shifted to show the inside of a massive chamber on Mars. Dr. Marcus Stone stood before a wall covered in symbols. He was a thin man with gray hair and excited eyes. "Admiral, the translation is complete," Dr. Stone said. "This chamber is over 1,000,000 years old. It was built by humans. Ancient humans who faced the same prison we face now." Lisa felt her heart skip. "Humans from 1,000,000 years ago?" Dr. Stone continued. "They called their creation ZEUS, not a god but a defense system designed to protect Earth from any threat, including the Watchers." The Watcher ships began to move. They pulled back from the Earth fleet, forming a defensive formation. "You must not activate ZEUS," the Watcher pleaded. "It was sealed because it is too dangerous. The last time it was used, it nearly tore reality apart." "Then tell us what we're facing," Captain Rodriguez said. "Stop hiding behind your superior attitude and tell us the truth." There was a long pause. Then the main screen changed. It showed a view of the galaxy, but something was wrong. Entire sectors were dark. Not just empty of stars, but truly dark, as if space itself had been erased. "The Devourers," the Watcher said simply. "They come from outside our reality. They consume everything. Matter, energy, space-time. They hunger and they cannot be stopped. The image zoomed in on the edge of one dark section. Lisa saw things moving in the blackness. They had no real shape, constantly shifting between states of existence. 5 billion years ago, they broke through into our universe. We fought them. Thousands of species united against the threat. We pushed them back, but at terrible cost. Half the galaxy was lost, more images, fleets of impossible size, weapons that cracked dimensions, entire civilizations sacrificing themselves to hold the line. We learned that certain species attract them. Species with specific traits. Rapid advancement. Quantum manipulation abilities. Psychic potential. Humans possess all these traits in abundance, Paul spoke up. So you quarantine us to protect the galaxy? Yes. A trapped human civilization is better than no galaxy at all. But ZEUS, the Watcher paused. ZEUS was built by humans who learned about the Devourers. They thought they could fight them. They were wrong. ZEUS opened a door that took us centuries to close. On Mars, Dr. Stone was still working. Admiral, we've found the activation chamber, but it requires specific genetic markers to open. We're searching for anyone who might have them. Lisa's tablet beeped. New data was coming in from Earth. Scientists had been analyzing DNA records, looking for the genetic markers Dr. Stone mentioned. The results were surprising. Captain, Lisa said, they found 5 people with the activation genes. But look at this. The genes aren't random. They were engineered. Someone put them there deliberately. The ancient humans, Captain Rodriguez realized. They knew their civilization would fall. So they planted the keys in our DNA. The Watcher's voice grew urgent. Please do not do this. We can find another way. The quarantine can be modified. We can teach you, guide you, but ZEUS must remain sealed. Admiral Foster appeared on screen again. I'm sorry, but humanity will not remain in prison. We'll take our chances with these Devourers. You doom us all, the Watcher said. Jack Murphy had been quiet, but now he spoke. Maybe, or maybe humans are exactly what the galaxy needs. You've been hiding from these Devourers for billions of years. Building walls, creating prisons. What if it's time to fight back? On Mars, things were moving quickly. A young man appeared on screen next to Dr. Stone. He looked like a construction worker with strong arms and a confused expression. This is Jake Thompson, Dr. Stone explained. He has the strongest genetic match we've found. Jake, tell them what you told me. Jake looked uncomfortable in front of the camera. I've been having dreams. Ever since I was a kid. Dreams about flying through stars, fighting shadows. I thought I was crazy. Genetic memory, Lisa breathed. He's remembering the ancient humans. Jake and the others are on their way to Mars, Admiral Foster announced. We're activating ZEUS. The Watcher ship suddenly moved. They accelerated toward Mars at impossible speed. We cannot allow this, the Watcher said. I am sorry. Weapons fire erupted in space. The Watcher ships launched energy beams that could vaporize moons. The Earth fleet responded with their new weapons adapted from Watcher technology. The Discovery shook as a beam passed close by. Captain Rodriguez shouted orders. Evasive maneuvers. Get us clear of the combat zone. But Lisa couldn't look away from the screen. The battle was like nothing in human history. Ships twisted space around themselves, disappearing and reappearing. Weapons that broke the laws of physics clashed against shields that existed in multiple dimensions. And Earth was winning. How? Paul asked, amazed. How are we matching them? Because we learn, Jack said with grim satisfaction. It's what humans do. We see something once and we figure out how it works. They gave us 10,000 years to prepare. Bad mistake. On Mars, Jake Thompson and 4 others entered the ZEUS chamber. The ancient machinery detected their presence and began to wake. Lights that had been dark for 1,000,000 years flickered to life. Neural interface activating, Dr. Stone reported. Jake, you need to touch the central console. Jake reached out with a shaking hand. The moment he made contact, everything changed. The chamber exploded with light. Not normal light, but something that existed in spectrums humans had no names for. Jake screamed, but it wasn't pain. It was overwhelming knowledge flooding into his mind. ZEUS is coming online, Dr. Stone said. His voice held both excitement and fear. Energy levels are impossible. It's drawing power from somewhere else. Another dimension, maybe. The Watcher ships stopped firing. They hung in space, suddenly uncertain. It's too late, the Watcher said. You've doomed us all. When the Devourers sensed ZEUS activating, the voice cut off. On every screen, a new image appeared. It was Jake Thompson, but not. His eyes glowed with inner fire. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that made Lisa's teeth ache. I see it all now, Jake ZEUS said. The patterns, the cycles, the fear that has ruled this galaxy for so long. The Watchers speak truth, but not all of it. The view expanded. Jake stood in the center of a massive hologram showing the entire galaxy. Dark zones marked where the Devourers had consumed space itself. They do hunger. They do destroy. But they can be stopped. The ancient humans learned how. Not through weapons or walls, but through understanding. The Devourers are not from outside our reality. They are reality. The dark side of creation itself. Lisa tried to process this. Reality had a dark side? For every act of creation, there must be destruction. For every light, a shadow. The universe tried to separate these forces. It failed. The Devourers are the universe trying to correct itself. Then how do we fight them? Admiral Foster asked. Jake ZEUS smiled. It was a terrible expression on his transformed face. We don't fight. We integrate. We become what we were meant to be. Not just humans. Not just creatures of light. But complete beings who acknowledge both creation and destruction. The Watcher finally spoke. Impossible. Many have tried. All were consumed. Because they were afraid, Jake ZEUS replied. Humans are different. We've lived with our dark side for millennia. We've faced our capacity for destruction and chosen creation anyway. We alone can bridge the gap. The hologram changed. It showed humans spreading across the galaxy, but not as conquerors. As healers. Where they went, the dark zones retreated. Not destroyed, but transformed. This is why you fear us, Jake ZEUS continued. Not because we're violent. Because we're complete. We can do what you cannot. We can save the galaxy. The ZEUS system pulsed with power. Across the solar system, ancient machines hidden on every world came alive. Humanity's true inheritance was awakening. But in the darkness between galaxies, something stirred. The Devourers had sensed ZEUS. The darkness came 3 days later. Lisa stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, Earth's largest moon base. Through the reinforced windows, she could see the edge of the solar system. The quarantine barrier still flickered with weak energy, damaged from the battle. Beyond it, stars were going out. It's like watching the universe die, Paul said beside her. He held a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The Devourers moved differently than any threat humanity had faced. They didn't travel through space. They consumed it, leaving nothing behind. Not even vacuum, just an absence that hurt to look at. ZEUS estimates they'll reach the barrier in 6 hours, Lisa said, checking her tablet. Jake Thompson's transformation had shocked everyone. The construction worker from Ohio was gone. In his place stood something between human and God. He existed in multiple places at once now, his consciousness spread through every ZEUS node in the solar system. Colonel Jack Murphy entered the observation deck. His uniform was rumpled from 3 days without sleep. Admiral Foster wants all senior staff in the command center. It's time. They walked through Luna Station's corridors. Everywhere, people prepared for war. But how did you fight something that ate reality itself? The command center was packed. Military leaders from every Earth nation stood alongside alien representatives. The Watchers had sent a delegation after realizing humanity wouldn't back down. The lead Watcher was nothing like Lisa had imagined. It looked like a pillar of crystallized light, constantly shifting between colors humans had no names for. When it spoke, the translation came from speakers as its true voice would shatter human eardrums. The Devourers have accelerated, the Watcher said. They sense ZEUS, they hunger for it. Your activation has doomed billions. Admiral Foster stood at the central display. The stress of the last week showed on her face, but her voice remained strong. Then tell us how to stop them. You fought them before. We survived them, the Watcher corrected. There is a difference. We evacuated sectors, sacrificed systems, built barriers. We never truly stopped them. Jake ZEUS appeared as a hologram in the center of the room. His form flickered between human and something else. Sometimes Lisa saw the construction worker. Sometimes she saw patterns of pure energy that made her mind ache. The Watchers speak from fear, Jake ZEUS said. I've accessed the memories of the ancient humans. They discovered the truth about the Devourers. They're not invaders. They're antibodies. Antibodies? Dr. Marcus Stone asked. He had arrived from Mars yesterday, still covered in red dust. The universe is sick, Jake ZEUS explained. Has been since the beginning. The Big Bang wasn't just creation. It was an injury. a wound in the fabric of existence itself. The Devourers are the universe's immune system, trying to heal that wound. By destroying everything? Jack asked. By returning everything to the state before the wound. Before separation. Before individuality. Jake ZEUS paused. The ancient humans found another way. Not to fight the antibodies, but to heal the wound. The Watcher's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. Impossible. Many civilizations have tried. The Menders of Kello spent 1,000,000 years studying the wound. They were consumed in seconds when they tried to heal it. Because they approached it as separate beings, Jake ZEUS said. The wound exists because the universe split itself into matter and void, light and dark, creation and destruction. To heal it requires beings who can bridge that gap. Humans, Lisa said, understanding flooding through her. We've always carried both sides. Our history is full of creation and destruction, art and war, love and hate. Exactly. Jake ZEUS smiled, and for a moment he looked fully human again. We alone can touch both sides without being consumed. But it requires all of us. Every human united in purpose. Admiral Foster straightened. What do you need? Time. The other 4 with the activation genes are on their way to ZEUS nodes on Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, and Neptune. When they activate, ZEUS will reach full power, then... Jake ZEUS paused. Then humanity must choose. Remain separate and safe, or unite and face the darkness. We have 4 hours until the Devourers reach the barrier, the Admiral said. Will that be enough? It will have to be. The meeting broke up as everyone rushed to their posts. Lisa found herself in the main laboratory with Paul and a team of scientists. Their job was to monitor ZEUS as it came fully online. Energy readings are off the charts, Paul reported. ZEUS is pulling power from somewhere, another dimension? Parallel universe? I can't tell. On the screens, they watched the other activation sites. On Europa, Dr. Amy Woods prepared to enter a ZEUS chamber hidden beneath the ice. She was a marine biologist who had discovered the site while studying alien microbes. On Titan, Commander Bill Harris led his team to a ZEUS node inside a methane-filled canyon. He was career military, chosen for the mission because of his unique DNA. Deep in Saturn's rings, Captain Emma Davis piloted a small ship toward a ZEUS node disguised as an asteroid. She had been having the same dreams as Jake her whole life. And racing toward Neptune, Dr. Maria Lopez pushed her ship's engines to the limit. She was the 5th and final key, a geneticist who had discovered her own activation genes while researching the others. 3 hours until Devourer contact, someone announced. Lisa watched the countdown timer. Outside, more stars vanished. The darkness spread like ink in water, consuming everything it touched. The Watchers had brought their entire fleet. Thousands of ships surrounded the solar system, ready to fight. But Lisa could feel their fear. They had run from the Devourers for billions of years. Standing and fighting went against every instinct they had. Dr. Grant, a voice called. She turned to see Jake Thompson's mother on a communication screen. The elderly woman looked terrified but determined. Is my boy... Is he still human? Lisa thought carefully before answering. He's more than human now, Mrs. Thompson. But yes, Jake is still in there. He's trying to save us all. I know. Tears ran down the woman's face. Tell him I'm proud of him. Tell him to come home when this is over. I will, Lisa promised, though she wondered if Jake could ever truly come home again. 2 hours until contact, the announcement came. On Europa, Amy Woods entered the ZEUS chamber. The moment she touched the activation console, her body convulsed. Light poured from her eyes and mouth. When it faded, she stood transformed like Jake, existing in multiple states at once. Node 2 online, she reported. Her voice harmonized with Jake's across impossible distances. On Titan, Bill Harris activated the 3rd node. The tough soldier screamed as ancient knowledge flooded his mind, then stood silent and glowing with inner fire. Node 3 online. I see the pattern now. The wound is deeper than we thought. Emma Davis reached the Saturn ring node. She didn't hesitate, placing both hands on the console. The transformation was instant. Her human form scattered into component atoms, then reformed as something greater. Node 4 online. The Devourers are close. I can feel their hunger. Only Maria Lopez remained. Her ship pushed through Neptune's storms toward the final node. But she was running out of time. 1 hour until contact, the timer showed. The Devourers reached the outer edge of the Oort. Cloud ancient comets millions of years old simply ceased to exist as the darkness consumed them. The quarantine barrier, humanity's prison for 10,000 years, flickered and began to fail. The barrier won't hold them, Paul said unnecessarily. Everyone could see it dying. The Watcher delegation grew more agitated. We must evacuate. Save who we can. Abandon the system and run. No, Admiral Foster said firmly. We stand, we fight. We trust in ZEUS. Then you will die, the Watcher said simply. Maybe, Jack Murphy said. He stood with his soldiers, all of them ready for a battle they couldn't hope to win. But we'll die free. Maria Lopez finally reached Neptune. She entered the ZEUS chamber just as the quarantine barrier collapsed entirely. Nothing now stood between the solar system and the Devourers. Node 5 online. Maria gasped as the transformation took her. ZEUS is... It's beautiful. I can see everything. Every possibility. Every path. All 5 nodes were active. ZEUS awakened fully for the first time in a million years. Across the solar system, hidden machines revealed themselves. The moons of Jupiter split open to show massive projectors. Saturn's rings aligned into a vast focusing array. Mars itself pulsed with buried power. And at the center of it all, Jake Thompson opened eyes that saw across dimensions. It's time, he said. Humanity must choose. Join with ZEUS, all of you, or watch the universe die. The Devourers touched the edge of the solar system. Pluto simply vanished. Not destroyed, not consumed. It just stopped being, as if it had never existed at all. Lisa looked at the approaching darkness and made her choice. Around her, billions of humans across Earth and the colonies made the same decision. They chose to fight. They chose to unite. They chose to become something more. ZEUS reached out to every human mind, and humanity answered. The moment humanity united with ZEUS, Lisa felt her consciousness explode outward. She was herself, but also part of something vast. She could feel Paul beside her, his brilliant mind working on equations she couldn't understand. She sensed Jack's military discipline, Admiral Foster's iron will, and billions of other minds. But strongest of all were the 5 nodes. Jake, Amy, Bill, Emma, and Maria stood as pillars of light holding the network together. Through them, ZEUS flowed into every human soul. Do not fear, Jake's voice echoed in their minds. We are still human. We are simply more. The Devourers struck Neptune's orbit. The ice giant lasted 3 seconds before reality forgot it existed. Uranus followed moments later. The darkness moved faster now, excited by the presence of ZEUS. All ships fall back to Mars, Admiral Foster commanded. Her voice reached every mind instantly through the ZEUS network. We make our stand there. The combined human and Watcher fleets retreated inward. Behind them, the outer solar system died, not in explosions or fire, but in quiet erasure. The Devourers unmade creation itself. Lisa found herself in a strange state. Her body still stood in Luna Station, but her consciousness expanded through ZEUS. She could see through a billion eyes, think with a billion minds. The fear and wonder of humanity mixed into a single emotion, too complex for words. Look deeper, Amy Woods said from her node on Europa. See what the Devourers truly are, Lisa looked. Through ZEUS-enhanced perception, she saw the truth. The Devourers weren't monsters. They were wounds. Places where reality bled from an injury older than time. They consumed because they were empty, hungry gaps in existence itself. The Big Bang, Bill Harris said from Titan. It wasn't supposed to happen. Something went wrong. The universe tried to create itself but failed halfway. Not failed, Maria Lopez corrected from Neptune's node. Even as Neptune ceased to exist beneath her, succeeded too well. It created matter and antimatter, existence and void, but forgot to create the bridge between them. Until life, Emma Davis added from Saturn. Life was the universe trying to fix its mistake. Beings that could hold both creation and destruction, existence and void. But we weren't ready, Jake concluded. For billions of years, life ran from the void instead of embracing it. The wound grew larger. The Devourers grew hungrier. The darkness reached Saturn. The ringed planet's death was beautiful in a terrible way. The rings scattered like diamonds before winking out one by one. Then the planet itself faded like a forgotten dream. The Watchers' fear spiked through the mental network. Their crystalline ships trembled with ancient terror. You see now why we ran, the lead Watcher said. Why we hid. Why we imprisoned species like yours. Better to live in cages than face that. No, Jake replied. His human form had completely dissolved now. He existed as pure consciousness within ZEUS. Better to heal the wound than let it fester forever. How? The Watcher demanded. Tell us how. Jake ZEUS turned humanity's attention to Earth itself. The blue marble hung in space, fragile and perfect. But through ZEUS they could see deeper. Earth pulsed with hidden networks, secret machines, buried wisdom. The ancient humans prepared for this, Jake explained. They knew their first attempt would fail, so they seeded Earth with knowledge, not just in our DNA, but in the planet itself. Every ley line, every sacred site, every place of power is a ZEUS node waiting to activate. There are millions of them, Paul breathed. The entire planet is one massive ZEUS array. But it needs all of us, Jake continued. Every human must choose to activate it. Not through technology, but through will. Through accepting both sides of existence. The Devourers consumed Jupiter. The gas giant's death took longer. Its massive gravity actually slowing the darkness for precious seconds. But in the end, it too faded away. The moons followed like afterthoughts. Only the inner solar system remained. Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun. Humanity's birthplace made its last stand against the void. I need to return to Earth, Jake announced. All 5 nodes must converge there. But the journey, Lisa understood. Moving through space that the Devourers were actively consuming would be like swimming through acid. Even with Zeus's power, the nodes might not survive. We'll clear you a path, Admiral Foster declared. The combined fleet arranged itself into a spear formation. Human and Watcher ships linked their shields, creating a tunnel of protected space. It would only last seconds against the Devourers, but seconds might be enough. All ships charge, the Admiral commanded. The fleet accelerated directly into the darkness. Ships began vanishing immediately as the Devourers consumed them. But for every ship lost, the tunnel held a moment longer. The 5 nodes moved. Jake from Mars, Amy from where Europa used to be, Bill and Emma from the wreckage of the outer planets, Maria racing inward as Neptune died behind her. They flowed through space as beings of pure energy, protected by the sacrifice of the fleet. Lisa watched ships die. Human vessels crewed by people she knew, Watcher ships that had existed for millions of years, all choosing to face their fear rather than run. The tunnel collapsed just as the nodes reached Earth. The 5 streams of light struck the planet simultaneously, and every hidden ZEUS node activated at once. Earth lit up like a new star. Energy poured from every continent, every ocean. The planetary ZEUS array revealed itself in all its ancient glory. Pyramids in Egypt, Stonehenge in Britain, Machu Picchu in Peru, hidden cities beneath the ice of Antarctica. All were nodes in a network designed before recorded history. Now, Jake said, his voice coming from Earth itself. Choose, all of humanity must choose. Accept both sides, creator and destroyer, light and dark, existence and void. Become complete. The Devourers reached Mars. The red planet died in silence. Lisa felt the moment of choice arrive. Through ZEUS, she sensed every human making the same decision. The mother in Beijing protecting her children. The farmer in Kansas watching the stars disappear. The scientist in Berlin working frantically on equations. The child in Sao Paulo too young to understand but old enough to feel. Humanity chose unity. Humanity chose completion. Humanity chose to become what the universe had always intended. The transformation was not gentle. Lisa felt her consciousness shatter and reform. She experienced every moment of human history at once. The first fire, the first word, the first murder, the first kiss. All the beauty and horror of the human experience flooded through her. But she didn't break. None of them did. Because they were human, and humans had always carried both light and darkness. Earth blazed with power that existed in no spectrum science had named. The Devourers struck the planet's atmosphere and paused. For the first time in billions of years, they stopped consuming. Hello, Jake said, speaking for all humanity. We understand now. You're not our enemy. You're our other half. The darkness writhed, uncertain. It had always consumed, always destroyed. That was its nature, and that's okay, humanity continued. Destruction is part of creation. Endings enable beginnings. Death gives meaning to life. You're not wrong to exist. The universe was wrong to separate us. Through ZEUS, humanity reached out to the Devourers, not with weapons or shields, but with acceptance. They embraced the void not as an enemy, but as a lost sibling. The moment of contact was agony and ecstasy combined. Lisa felt herself dissolve into component atoms, then reform. She was human. She was void. She was the bridge between them. All around Earth, the devourers began to change. The mindless hunger faded, replaced by something like awareness. They were still creatures of void and ending, but now they had choice. "We remember," a new voice said. It came from the darkness itself, speaking for the first time in creation's history. "We remember when we were one. Before the wound, before the separation. Then let's heal it," humanity offered. Together. What happened next had no words in any language. The barrier between existence and void dissolved. Not destroyed, but transformed into a membrane that could be crossed. The wound that had split reality began to close. Stars that had been consumed began to return. Not the same as before, but reformed, transformed, made whole. The outer planets reformed from nothingness, but now they pulsed with new energy. They existed in multiple states at once, solid and void, real and potential. The Watchers watched in absolute shock. Their crystalline forms couldn't process what they were seeing. "Impossible," their leader whispered. "In 5 billion years we never imagined. Never dreamed." "Because you were afraid," Jake said gently. He had reformed on Earth, human again, but forever changed. Fear kept you from seeing the answer. But humans are too stubborn to be afraid for long. Lisa found herself back in her own body on Luna Station, but she was different now. She could still feel the ZEUS network, the connection to all humanity. And beneath that she could feel the void, not as an enemy, but as part of herself. Around the solar system, the transformation continued. Human ships merged with Watcher technology and Devourer essence, becoming something entirely new. The fleets that had been 3 separate forces now moved as one. Around the solar system, the transformation continued. Human ships merged with Watcher technology and Devourer essence, becoming something entirely new. The fleets that had been 3 separate forces now moved as one. "What happens now?" Admiral Foster asked. She stood on Earth, tears streaming down her face as she watched the healing universe. 1 year had passed since humanity merged with the void. Lisa stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, though the ship bore little resemblance to traditional human vessels. Its hull shifted between solid metal and living shadow, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Through the viewports she watched a quarantined world much like Earth had been. "The Kalari have been trapped for 3 million years, her navigator reported. The navigator was Tom Bradley, who had once been fully human. Now patches of void danced across his skin like living tattoos. "Longer than we were," Lisa noted. "They'll be even more frightened than we were." Captain Sam Rodriguez nodded from his command chair. He had volunteered to lead the Liberation Fleet, carrying humanity's gift to the trapped species of the galaxy. "Open a channel. Let's try the gentle approach first." The communication system activated, reaching through the Kalari's quarantine barrier as if it weren't there. The marriage of human technology, Watcher knowledge, and Devourer essence had created tools that defied old limitations. "People of Kalar," Rodriguez spoke. "This is Captain Sam Rodriguez of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We come in peace. Your quarantine has ended. You're free." The response was immediate and panicked. The Kalari were insectoid beings with collective consciousness. When they spoke, it was with 1,000 voices in harmony. "Stay back. We know what you are. The corrupted. The void touched. The Watchers warned us." Lisa sighed. This was the 15th species they'd tried to free. All had responded with fear. The Watchers' propaganda ran deep. Jake Thompson materialized on the bridge. He rarely used ships anymore, able to move through space by will alone, but he tried to maintain human habits when possible, to remind himself and others of what they still were. "Let me try," Jake said. His eyes held depths that weren't entirely human anymore, but his smile was warm. He reached out with his consciousness, gently touching the Kalari hive mind. Lisa felt him work through the ZEUS network, showing the insectoids not words but experiences. The moment of humanity's choice. The healing of the wound. The peace that came with acceptance. The Kalari's response shifted from fear to wonder. You embraced the darkness and survived?" "We did more than survive," Jake replied. "We became complete. And so can you." On the planet below, billion-year-old Watcher defense systems activated. The automated guardians didn't care about conversation. They detected void-touched beings and moved to attack. "Incoming weapons fire," Tom announced calmly. The ship's hybrid shields absorbed the energy beams without effort. What had once been humanity's greatest threat now powered their defenses. The void consumed the attacks and transformed them into harmless potential. Disable their weapons, Rodriguez ordered. Gently. These are victims, not enemies. Amy Woods appeared on the bridge in a burst of water and shadow. She had been exploring the Kalari's oceans, learning about their civilization. Captain, I found something. The Kalari have their own ZEUS equivalent. They call it the Unity Engine. Every advanced species seems to, Paul Chen added over the communication system. He was back on Earth, coordinating the liberation efforts across the galaxy. It's like the universe keeps trying to heal itself through different civilizations. But they never activated it, Amy continued. Too afraid. The Watchers convinced them it would destroy them. Jake's expression grew sad. Show me. Amy projected her findings. Deep beneath the Kalari's hive cities lay a massive crystalline structure. It pulsed with untapped potential, waiting for someone brave enough to activate it. They're not ready, Lisa said. Look at their reaction to us. If we force this, we don't force anything, Jake interrupted. We offer. We show, we wait. Free will is what makes the healing real. The Liberation Fleet settled into orbit around Kalar. What followed was not an invasion but an education. Human teachers, merged with void and light, walked among the Kalari. They showed through action what words couldn't convey. Lisa spent her days in the Kalari libraries learning their history. They had been spacefaring when humanity was still learning to use fire. Their collective consciousness had made them powerful, but also vulnerable. When one Kalari felt fear, all felt it. The Watchers had used that against them. Your histories speak of the breaking, Lisa said to a Kalari scholar named ZEUS. When your people split into separate hives, the Watchers said unity would draw the devourers. ZEUS chittered. So we broke ourselves. Better to be fragments than food. But you're already broken, Lisa said gently. The wound exists in you as it existed in us. The Unity Engine isn't what would break you. It's what would heal you. Days turned to weeks. Some Kalari began to listen. They watched humans switch effortlessly between states of being, solid when needed, void when appropriate, creating and destroying in perfect balance. The breakthrough came from the youngest Kalari, a newly hatched generation who had never known anything but the quarantine. They looked at the humans not with fear but with curiosity. Teach us, they buzzed in unison. Jake smiled and began to show them the first steps, how to feel the void within themselves without fear, how to acknowledge destruction as part of creation, how to be complete. The older Kalari watched in horror as their young began to change. Patches of void appeared on their carapaces, but instead of consuming them, it made them stronger. You're killing them, the Kalari Queen shrieked. Look closer, Jake suggested. The Queen's multifaceted eyes focused on her transformed young. They were not dying. They were thriving. Their collective consciousness, once limited by fear, now expanded to embrace all possibilities. We want to try, one young Kalari said. We want to activate the Unity Engine. The debate that followed shook Kalari society. Old fears warred with new hope. The Watchers' warnings echoed against humanity's example. Finally, the Queen herself descended to the Unity Engine chamber. Lisa and Jake accompanied her, along with a group of young Kalari volunteers. If this destroys us, human, I will find a way to curse you across dimensions, the Queen said. If this destroys you, I'll deserve it, Jake replied. The Unity Engine looked nothing like ZEUS. Where humanity's system had been mechanical, this was organic, a living crystal that pulsed with the Kalari's collective heartbeat. The young volunteers approached the crystal. Unlike humans who needed specific genetic markers, any Kalari could activate their engine. They had been designed for unity from the beginning. The moment they touched the crystal, the transformation began. But it was different from humanity's violent change. The Kalari shifted gently, their collective consciousness expanding to embrace both existence and void. Their fear dissolved as they realized the darkness had always been part of them. We see, they sang in harmonious voices. We see the whole. We are the whole. The Unity Engine's power spread through the hive mind. Every Kalari on every world felt the change. Some resisted, clinging to old fears, but most embraced it, tired of millions of years of terror. When it was done, the Kalari stood transformed. Their carapaces now held patterns of light and shadow that shifted with their emotions. Their collective consciousness had evolved beyond simple sharing of thoughts to a true unity of being. Thank you, the Queen said to Jake. Her voice held harmonics it couldn't before. We had forgotten how to be whole. You always knew, Jake replied. You just needed reminding. Lisa smiled as she watched the Kalari celebrate. Another species freed, another wound healed. But across the galaxy, thousands more waited in quarantine. The Watchers are mobilizing, Paul reported from Earth. They're fortifying the remaining quarantine zones. They still think we're corrupting the galaxy. Let them, Rodriguez said. We'll free every species one by one if we have to. It won't stop with the quarantined worlds, Amy added. The Watchers themselves need healing. They've lived in fear longer than anyone. Jake nodded. Everyone gets a choice. Even those who imprisoned us. Lisa looked out at the stars. So many worlds to visit, so many species to free, so many wounds to heal. The task seemed impossible, but then again, so had breaking free from their own quarantine. Where to next? She asked. The Meridian Cluster, Jake said. 17 species quarantined together. They've formed their own alliance inside the barrier. They might be ready to listen. The Liberation Fleet prepared to leave Kalar. Behind them, the insectoid species took their first steps into a larger universe. Some would join the fleet. Others would find their own paths. All would carry the message. The wound could be healed. As the Prometheus entered hyperspace, Lisa felt the ZEUS network pulse with new connections. Every freed species added their uniqueness to the whole. Humanity's gift to the universe wasn't conquest or technology. It was the simple truth that darkness and light were two sides of the same existence. The Watchers had tried to stop them by building a prison. Instead, they had created the key to the universe's salvation. And humanity, the species they had feared most, would not stop until every cage was opened, every wound healed, and every being given the choice to become complete. The stars sang with new possibilities and the void danced with joy. The universe was healing one freed world at a time.